On today's episode, Anita and I discuss the intimate workings of Santa's reindeer.
Wow.
Is that right? I mean, that's kind of what it is, isn't it? So
we'll get there, yeah.
Yeah. So Anita is directing a play called the, what's it called?
The 8 Reindeer Monologues.
And it will be at the Black Box Theatre in Nambour on the 8th of December. 2 shows. Jump onto your Facebook page.
Yep, so look for us at Firelight Theatre on Facebook, and we've got a website as well, firelighttheatre.com.au.
And you can go through the old ambulance station social media too if that suits you better. You'll find it. It's all happening here. Stay tuned, you'll love it. Hello and welcome to Stories from the Red Couch episode. Actually, we're just going to dispense with episodes. So close to Christmas and New Year, they're out the window. I'm Robin Cook and today my guest is Anita Sweeney. Hi Anita.
Hi Robin.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, also very well. Thanks for joining me.
Oh no, it's great. Lovely to be here.
Now, you're a director in a theatre company called Firelight Theatre. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Do
you like it?
I'm enjoying it, yeah. It's a relatively new direction for me, but it's fun.
Fabulous. Yeah. What were you doing up until, because I'm going to talk about what you're doing in a minute, but what were you doing before you became a director?
Most of my theatre experience has been with costuming, so design and wardrobe, running around backstage, pinning people and helping them with quick changes and all of that sort of thing. Yeah,
fabulous. And so now directing, and your current play is the 8 Reindeer Monologues.
That's correct.
That's it's intriguing. Tell me about it.
It's a play written by an American playwright named Jeff Goode.
Yes.
It was written in 1994, and it basically allows each of the reindeer to tell us their version of what they know about some allegations that have been made of inappropriate behaviour. So Santa hasn't really been behaving himself.
Okay.
Sadly.
Okay. All right. Well, so there's a bit of controversy around the topic and topical to what we see in our wider community now.
It is. The play was written in 1994, so on one hand it's depressing that it is still
relevant.
as relevant as it is, that it could have been written this year.
No.
But with the metoo movement and a whole range of things that have shifted since Harvey Weinstein particularly blew all of that open, the play just has a different flavour again.
Yeah. I mean, those sorts of fundamental social changes really take some time to come about, don't they? And you go through those whole stages of shock and denial and no, that's not true. And how is that reflected in the play?
We really see all of those different struggles through each reindeer, really. So each reindeer kind of captures a particular element of the social struggle there is around the topic. So we've got, one reindeer who, I wouldn't say he doesn't care, but he just kind of wants to get on with the job. The job is the important thing, and all of this can be dealt with other ways, other places. This is not the time and place. Through to the roaring feminist who just wants to get everybody up and how dare this happen, we've got to fight this, we've got to do this. And then the polar opposite, we've got one reindeer who is the staunch defender of Santa, who just thinks that this is perversion, that people could even say these things about such a prominent figure who does so much good. And we've got quite a few other views in between. So
that's incredibly fascinating, isn't it? And so each reindeer is an individual performer?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, and they're telling their story over that time. Do we see Santa?
No, we don't, but you get a feeling that maybe you don't want to. I don't know.
After all that.
We hear about him plenty. See lots of different sides of Santa through the reindeer's experience, but we never meet him personally.
What do you think you bring to the play? So you said that it was written in 1994, and I'm guessing that it's been performed in all manner of places over that time.
It's actually been a previous production of it here.
Oh,
actually,
okay.
yeah. Lynn Lane did one a few years back.
Fabulous. So, as a director, what do you bring that gives it your perspective or touch to it?
Well, I think one thing that is a big shift is that we are now in that post-metoo era. So this sort of conversation has a different weight. It's taken perhaps more seriously than it was even a few years ago. That we're starting to see ripples through all sorts of industries where this behaviour is really being exposed and questioned far more. And perhaps that's a fear of legal action and all sorts of things that might be driving a lot of these responses at the moment, but at least it's opening up discussions and making people more aware of what might be acceptable and what might be taken as inappropriate.
Yeah. So is that how you came to choose to do this particular play? Is it, you've got a range of plays in front of you and you're going, oh, it's Christmas, we could do a Christmas play, but here's one that's got, some meatiness to it. Is that how you do that?
Yeah, I guess we're naturally attracted to things that have got a little bit of bite, a little bit of something in there that's going to be uncomfortable, that's going to make an audience think about what they've just watched.
Yes.
Theatre can serve all sorts of purposes, but I quite like, personally, theatre that does invite you to think and rethink a position you might have even, so it can be that, you go in with a thought all established and see something that can just throw up another.
For sure, and I guess that's the role of storytelling, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we see that right throughout the eons of storytelling.
Absolutely.
Is in gathering perspectives in the hope of shaping or educating or that type of thing.
And I think this play does that well. It doesn't just say this is what happened and it's bad. It says this is the allegation that's been made. What do people know? How do people feel about that? And that allows a lot of room for personal reflection, as a result of the way it's presented.
That's fabulous. And so in thinking about the audience, are they going to be able to walk out and then have these conversations with other people and amongst themselves and maybe with their family?
I hope so. I think it would be a really good thing if these sorts of stories do prompt those discussions.
Yeah.
I guess the thing is you never know quite what is going to be revealed when those discussions do come up, and that can be pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, it
but
can
they're
be.
Still important discussions to have.
Well, I agree with you. Now, tell me, is it told through with an element of humour, or is it just, oh my God, we're just going to do all of this and it's hard work?
Oh no, there's a lot of humour.
Oh, good.
It can be unexpectedly funny.
Yes.
I think when we read a lot of it on page, it seemed dark, but then when we heard it read out loud, it's surprising how funny some parts of it can be.
Okay.
Because when it comes down to it, it's still told as reindeer. So you get these insights into the reindeer world that can be quite surprising.
Okay. So what helps us to see the actors as reindeer? Have you got antlers or, big heavy coats, or what have you done with that?
No, I gave a lot of consideration to antlers because some productions have put the actors in antlers.
Okay, yes.
But in the end we decided against that. We are, at the moment we're still exploring some of the physicality in the way the actors are working, just being aware that if you do have antlers, then the way you bear the weight of that and the space you take up, the way you turn your head is quite different if you've got that sort of weight on you. So taking some of those elements into the physical characteristics of how the actors move rather than showing that in a costume. Our costuming approach has been quite different to something as literal as that.
Yes, and I imagine that for reindeer who are Santa's chosen reindeer, there's going to be a sense of strength and capacity and doing things that others can't do.
Absolutely.
Tell me a bit about that.
Well, these are the elite. These are the 8. So these are the best reindeer in the world that have been chosen. 8.
Are there 9 reindeer, though? Are there 9? No?
Rudolph's a little bit of a touchy subject.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do hear a lot about Rudolph, you know, for another character that's not actually
presented
speaking.
On stage.
We don't see Rudolph, but we hear a lot about Rudolph. It's not an entirely happy story that's told about Rudolph, I must say.
Oh no!
Yeah, it might shatter a few perceptions of poor Rudolph. But yeah, he certainly gets mentioned, but there's really a strong feeling that he should never have been put in that role in the first place. Yeah, he was just not supposed to be there, and perhaps the reasons for him being there were less than wholesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so back to the costuming and the sense of elitism.
Yep.
So just tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, it was an element of the play that we really wanted to bring out, that these were a team of athletes, really, that were extremely capable in their field, that they're the best of the best. So we looked at different ways of being able to show that, and different industries or jobs where we see that kind of thing. We thought about the SAS, the Marines, Navy SEALs. The Air Force kept coming up because, of course, the reindeer fly, and astronauts for the same reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, where with astronauts we've got that crossover into a, you know, it's usually a short-lived celebrity, but there's still a celebrity when they do something that's really amazing, and all of a sudden they're everywhere, and you know, there's camera crews following them, and they become a focal point of attention.
And it's certainly not something that we mere mortals can aspire to, really. No, can we?
No,
not just anyone can do that.
And we see that with the reindeer as well. You know, so as bizarre as it is to catch yourself seriously talking about these things like this, but we do get that. So one of the reindeer does tell a little story about you know, how before he became one of the 8, he remembers going to get the autograph from a previous member of this team, and how it was his most precious possession, even though his name was spelled incorrectly, and you know, that sort of thing. So we do get some of that sort of brought out, that these are really significant.
That really reflects our current cultural practices, doesn't it? So the story of the inappropriate behaviour, the adulation, and the elitism. That's fabulous. Yep. So you would expect that as an audience we'll see a lot of and recognise a lot of those elements in ourselves and in our communities?
Yeah, because I think, well, I might be speaking very much from my own viewpoint here, but I think a lot of us have a natural way we respond to stories when we hear them. Sure. And a story like that, you know, we might naturally be immediately on the side of the woman who is telling the story, and we might have the response that Blitzen has, which is to more or less rally the troops and go in going, no, we have to change this, we have to do something about this, we have to make this better. There'll be other people who would recognise the approach of, you know what, this is not my problem, I don't want to be involved. Or the approach of, this is a terrible thing that's happened, but I need this job. I can't rock the boat. So I think there's a lot in there that people will recognise, and we're not wanting people to judge those different perspectives, just to see them and recognise them.
That's amazing, isn't it? Tell me about how you choose a theatre to show these stories, because it's such a good story. We instantly recognise the characters from our childhoods, but you're telling it in a way that is confronting. What's the role of the theatre physically in that storytelling?
Well, we are interested in spaces that are small, that invite audiences to be closer to it, to be able to connect with the actors, quite directly. And that feeling of being, you're gathered around a fire listening to a story, so that you're drawn in and really have an experience to hear that story, almost like we're talking now. That's a thing that we're striving for. So a space like the Black Box Theatre rather, is really good, because
ideal for that, because it is small and intimate, and
you can manipulate the space as well if you want to.
Yes, and it's very black.
It is very black.
It's very black, and I guess that we've been telling stories for eons, haven't we? And a lot of that is around delivering points of view and and I guess that in that smaller space, people really will feel like they're quite separate from anything that's going on in their day-to-day life, and they can go away with that. That's amazing. Yeah. What other shows have you done?
Our first show we did at Halloween, just before Halloween.
Okay.
That was The Turn of the Screw, which is an adaptation of a ghost story by Henry James, written in the 1890s.
Yes.
And the version we did was adapted by a writer named Jeffrey Hatcher down to two-hander, so male and a female actor, where the female actor tells the story through the eyes of a governess who's gone to a manor in the English countryside where things very quickly are not what they initially seem. And the male actor tells all the other viewpoints, so he takes on multiple roles.
That's fabulous. How long is the production element of something like that?
Look, that one we did over several months because we were meeting, because it was only two actors, we were able to be very flexible with time, and Ebony, who was in the role of the governess in that one, was flat out with multiple productions, and so we were working a lot around her other commitments with shows as well, and so we were initially meeting weekly, then twice a weekly, and
that must be challenging too. I mean, just in thinking about Ebony, she's got different roles, not just in a play, but multiple plays.
Yeah.
How do you hold all of that together in your head and know what you're doing when you walk in a room? I'm here. How do you do that?
Oh, that's a discussion to have with her, I think. From our perspective, it didn't really present much challenge at all. You know, when she arrived to work with us, we were on, and it was great. But it was a luxury to be able to have that longer rehearsal time that way. This one has been a different thing again, you know, because it's monologues. Actors haven't necessarily had to be together to do rehearsals, and so we've done, one-on-one rehearsals. We've done group rehearsals. Whoever was around could join in. We've got some casts that are coast-based, some casts that are from Brisbane. So this coming weekend is when we're putting them all together and
in the one room, and away you go.
Yeah.
So in pulling a performance like that together as a director, I've heard people talk about getting it up on its feet quickly, and up off the page and out. How do you operate? How do you pull something like that together?
We've been doing quite a lot of workshopping.
Yes.
So we've done what might seem like almost no work on the script whatsoever, but we've done a huge amount of work building the characters and really going into the layers underneath the characters. So a lot of very personal work for the actors, exposing different elements of themselves that they can draw on to use in creating very multifaceted characters. And that for us has been a really important part of creating the play. By the time it gets to right now, tell us your story that you've got, all of that work just comes to life. So the type of play this is allows that beautifully. Yeah,
fabulous. Many props?
No, actually, that's a good question. I'm just trying to think whether there's any props at all. A couple of the reindeer might have a few personal props, but nothing that's
no big set designs and things like that.
We've really gone the other way. We've wanted to strip it back to the story and not get distracted by those elements.
That's nice. I like that idea. I guess that. How many people are you able to hold in the black box?
Well, look, it depends on how you put the chairs out and that sort of stuff. I think 50 is really comfortable.
Great.
In there you can put more, but that's sort of where I think it's sort of at its sort of comfortable limit. And that way it's still the cosy sort of intimate experience that we're wanting people to have.
Perfect. All right. Well, Anita, thank you. Thanks for joining me. We're going to encourage everyone to come. So it's at the Black Box Theatre, which is in Nambour, and it's on the
8th of December.
8th of December.
And we've got two shows, 2 p.m. and 7:30 p.m.
Yep, and you can buy your tickets online. So what would they look for to find them online?
Firelighttheatre.com.au. We've also got a Facebook page, just Firelight Theatre. So that's probably the quickest ways to find us. Yeah.
Great. And I think you can find it through the old ambulance station.
I think so,
social media as well. Yep. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with another no-numbered episode. So hang around and wait for that. Thank you.
Okay, go on, I'll give you a talk about reindeer.
That's so funny.
Oh, no,
she's fine.